All right, so Matthew, now we're at the location of the traffic stop. And this was what they call a high-risk traffic stop or a felony stop, meaning tons of cop cars, tons of firearms drawn and pointed at you. First of all, how far back from this location were you approximately when they originally put the lights on behind you?
Not more than maybe half a mile, quarter mile down there.
Yeah.
They were parked right there. As soon as I seen the cop come behind me, I didn't hear any sirens, but I saw the lights, and I saw that it was 2 vehicles. So I made the first stop that I could. You know, right here, it's the best spot I had is a residential spot up there. And they didn't come up to the vehicle right away. They kind of waited for a while, and nothing was said. But I noticed more and more cars started appearing, and then the road was shut down. And by that time, there was an officer on a blowhorn giving us directions.
Sure. So you pulled into this little driveway right here, which is for an accounting business. You pull in. I noticed in the video you got out of the oncoming traffic,
Right.
but you were kind of sideways in it. Can you show us?
Yeah, so I kind of just pulled in straight off the road here on an angle. My car was this way on an angle. The back of my tires were probably about right here. It was positioned slightly to the left here.
Okay. And once again, your friend was in the car, the guy you referred to as your brother, close friend of yours. So are you guys talking? Are you and your friend talking when you're now pulled over? There's a delay between when they start shouting out the commands through the loudspeaker. What's going on in your head? What conversation's going on?
Well, he's kind of like, just relax. This is a traffic stop. I was like, this is weird to be a traffic stop. You know, we didn't really know what was going on. The only thing that might have crossed my mind was, that incident at the gas station a couple of days back. And I did say that to my brother. I said, this might be from those drunk people a couple of days back. I didn't know what the extent was going to be, but I knew that the stop was they were handling it like I was a hardened criminal, I mean, I was standing there with my arms on the ceiling for 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Talk about that for a minute, because you started getting instructions eventually. There was a long pause. You're just sitting there wondering what's going on. Then you start getting instructions, and the first one is, I think, turn off your vehicle, then it's put your hands out.
Right.
And then it's put your hands up on the ceiling, and then they leave you like that for minutes with your hands up like that. I mean, at that point, what's going to happen in your mind if you put your hands down?
I'm going to get shot.
Right. And you can see out your window, you can see there's squad cars there's guys with guns, there's guys with long guns, all that stuff going on. And you know what these firearms are, because you're an enthusiast. You possess firearms, you use firearms, you built some yourself. You know what an AR is when it's pointed at you.
Right, and that's all we saw when we were looking in the rear view. We weren't hearing anything, but we saw a lot of guys with a lot of big guns.
Right.
And that's extremely intimidating.
Yeah, exactly. At that point, I imagine there's a lot of things flashing through your head about how this could go wrong.
Yeah. No, I didn't want to move. You're just trying to listen to what they say, but like you say, sometimes one guy says, put your hands up. The other one says, put them on the ceiling. So the other one says, put them out the window. And all the while, any second, you could be, shot and killed.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about, too, was at some point when they have you getting out, first your close friend gets out, and he's not wearing a shirt. He's got it over his shoulder. He's looking pretty rough. You're getting out. You're looking pretty rough. What had you guys been doing that day?
We had work. We started work at 6 in the morning. We had just finished, and then we stopped off at Sprouts. We did remodel construction, so we had worked in the heat all day.
Right. So you guys you're dirty, you're sweaty, you're tired, you're beat. Just bought groceries. Did you buy just some milk or something?
No, I had salmon, steak, stuffed crab cakes. I ate a lot of fish at the time, so I had a lot of fish produce in my car.
Right.
A lot of fresh produce.
Right, so that's sitting in your car, and then you go to jail for 3 days.
Right, and my car gets impounded. They didn't allow my friend to take my car home.
Something tells me they didn't clear out the seafood from the car at the impound lot.
No.
Then put it in a nice refrigerator somewhere?
No, my car smelled like a dead body when I got it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was all just rotting groceries.
Yeah, and I had to pay a couple $100s to get it out.
There's a couple of times during that traffic stop in the videos where, because of, in my view, the unclear or conflicting instructions of the officers, things could have gone horribly wrong.
Yeah.
The first one is when you've got your hands on the roof of the car and they're yelling at you to exit the car, and you're still seat belted up.
Right, and I was screaming at the top of my lungs. You know, I have a seatbelt on, and I thought they heard me, and I reached down, and luckily they didn't, you know, they didn't pull, and I was still screaming at the top of my lungs. You know, I have a seatbelt.
Well, they responded to you.
Yeah,
they said, okay, well then go ahead and
off.
take off your seatbelt.
Right.
But imagine, I mean, I think a reasonable person in your position might have been like, okay, they're telling me to get out of the car. I want to follow the instructions. Let me get my seatbelt undone. That could have been the end right there. He's going for a gun.
Reaching for a gun.
Yeah.
And then to have me exit on the passenger side.
God forbid, as you're climbing over the console and all that sort, you slip, you fall. It becomes, because one of the other things they told you was no sudden movements.
Right.
What happens if you lose your balance or something? Again, I can understand why these guys are saying that, because they staged kind of behind you and they want to see you coming out the passenger side, but wow, talk about setting you up for failure.
Right.
That was scary.
Could have been easily to slip, and they could have thought that you were going for a gun.
Yeah.
Then the next time the thing could have gone horribly wrong is you're now kind of walking backwards down this sidewalk right here.
Right.
They say walk towards my voice. And then they tell you to show them your waistband.
Yeah, they said pull up the back of your shirt. So, standing like this, I believe I had my hands on my head. I went like this, and they shouted, no, stop what you're doing.
And you did it slowly.
Yeah.
I noticed in the video,
Right.
you don't just go for it. You put your hand out, and then you start going down slowly. Yeah. Thank goodness.
I was aware. You know, you got 10 guys with guns pointed at you. You don't want to give them a reason.
If you were more scared or something like that, and you had been like, okay, I want to comply as quickly as possible, and made a quick movement, all different angles, you were getting lit up at that point, potentially.
Yeah, no, it was a scary feeling.
Yeah, for sure. So can you kind of walk us to where the area was, where you walked backwards from the car and where you were finally handcuffed and taken into custody?
I exited the vehicle probably about here, you know, probably about here. And I walked backwards to a little bit of in front there. And then they had me drop to my knees, and then 2 officers put me in cuffs.
About right here?
Yeah.
I see. That's got to be the longest 30-foot walk of your life.
Yeah, it was pretty, it was stressful.
Not to mention you were doing it backwards.
Right, and you know, I didn't see all of them, but I saw some of them from this side, and they, you know, you see guys with big guns on you. It's scary.
Sure. Yeah. So going through this, obviously very traumatic. People don't understand how traumatic something like this can be. Surrounded by firearms every which way, being commanded around to do things. How have you been dealing with it?
It causes me to, now every time I see a, you know, police vehicle or any kind of law enforcement, you know, I get anxious, I get scared, you know, and that's not the way you should feel towards law enforcement, but unfortunately, based off this situation, that is how I feel now. It's a scary feeling. I'm not nearly as, you know, comfortable as I was dealing with any law enforcement or some authority figures as I was before this all happened.
We drove up with you from the Valley. Our office is in Phoenix. We drove up with you today to film this, and we passed a number of law enforcement on the way, and I could see you get visibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I remember you making a comment to us, because you weren't driving, Joey was driving, he was our RGD today.
Right.
At least it's not a 15 or 17-year-old girl, right? But Joey drove us up here, and I remember you making a comment where you told us, ever since this incident, if you even think law enforcement is behind you, what do you do?
I pull off the road. And it affects me, you know, it affects my girlfriend. She sees me get, you know, 10, 15 minutes after this, I'll still be anxious, I'll still be upset. Clearly, as you say, you saw it in me. And, you know, it takes time to bring myself back down to a calm level, because this was an extremely traumatizing experience.
Yeah, I mean, as I watched those body cameras, I mean, you kept your head. You could somehow, throughout all that craziness and the conflicting orders and having to crawl over the center console and
walk backwards down the sidewalk.
I mean, impressive that you kept your cool.
I didn't want to get shot.
Yeah,
I didn't want to get shot.
Yeah.
I know at some point you'd had to go to a professional, a counselor, to help deal with some of the issues that you were having.
Yeah.
I think you had to quit going to that because you couldn't afford it.
Right. Yeah, no, I was. I saw it after, to speak to somebody, not only my girlfriend, but my mother thought it would be good. They directly saw the impact that this had on my life. It wasn't just this, it then continued for a year and a half of stress and anxiousness and worry and concern. And, they said I should see somebody to speak because they saw a change in me,
Yeah.
And I was actively doing that, but it's just something that I can't maintain financially because of the hole that this situation has put me in.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of money. I lost a lot of time, and it set me back.
You lost your job, your business, your house. You had a couple of vehicles. You had a large number of firearms because you were enthusiasts, like many of our members and viewers are enthusiasts. You enjoyed firearms. Lost all of those. Had to move out of state. Now you're living where? In a tiny apartment doing maintenance work, trying to build your life back.
Yeah, I went from a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house on 35 acres to a 300-square-foot apartment.
There's so many auxiliary consequences in your therapy, and
a new phone. They had my phone in evidence for 3 months.
Yeah, and perhaps most tragically, $600 of crab cakes and salmon.
Right.
Another casualty.
It was a couple $100.
Hopefully a little upholstery and cleaning of the vehicle. Joey and I see this all the time in our cases where our clients have been mistreated by the police, go to a traumatic event like what you did, and people can't understand, well, hold up, why would you don't have to just uproot your entire life. You don't have to move away out of that community. You don't have to sell your car. Oftentimes you feel like you do.
Yeah.
Because when you're the victim of an injustice like this, where you've done nothing wrong, you've done everything right legally, there's no rhyme or reason to it to you, what's in your mind, having survived that, is they're going to look at a way to get back at me again. They're going to look at a way to target me again, especially if I complain about this, especially if I fight this and try to tell the truth.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you, if you had asked me, we weren't representing you at the time, I would have told you, you need to move from the town. Because while that case is pending, you have got one foot in jail and another foot on a banana peel. Any mess up gets counted against you. Your conditions of release are now going to be yanked. You're going to be right back in jail. So I would have absolutely told you to do that. And that has nothing to do with some irrational or unreasonable fear that people might attribute to this.
No.
This is real. This is rational. That's the smart thing to do. Unfortunately, you lose a big chunk of your life.
Yeah. It was mainly for my mother. My mother, she wanted her son back home where she could make sure that I was going to be safe.
Yeah.
So that's
as a parent, I agree. That'd be the first thing I'd tell my son or my daughter, you're getting home.
Right. And that's why my parents are me and my family are very grateful for both of you guys.
Yep.
You guys got me
Pleasure,
out of
brother.
that.